Today we're going to talk about controversial castor oil mistakes, dog skin tips. I made so many videos about castor oil, so you can go back and watch my 1-year review. That's by far the most popular. I go through step by step all the ways that I've used castor oil and how it's really helped me anywhere from my large fibroid to dry eyes. So definitely go back and watch that if you want all the goodness and all of the comments underneath the video. Let me tell you, that's really where it's at because so many people chimed in and gave so much more helpful advice than I could ever imagine, including responding to my doggy tips. My doggies mean the world to me. So if you are like me and you have animals that you care about like your children, then you're gonna love this, because I'm gonna give you some additional doggy tips that have literally changed the lives of my dogs. I've raised 3 pugs. One was 15, 16, and now this one's about to turn 17. And we also have a senior Yorkie to throw into the mix. So I have really done everything under the sun to keep these doggies alive with the best possible quality of life. I'm not a veterinarian. This is not medical advice. I am a licensed esthetician, by the way, with over 25 years of collective beauty experience, and I'm a beauty creator. So I do have a wealth of knowledge in that space and regarding wellness. I love using natural remedies whenever possible, but I'm not against anybody who takes any other measures they see fit to help their little furry friends. So let's dive in to the first controversial, yeah, say that 3 times in a row, controversial mistakes that I think people are making around castor oil. Okay, first one, most obvious, dropping it into your eyes. I've seen the videos too where there's the advice to drop it directly into the eyes. Before, I made one of my videos where I said, who's saying to drop it into the eyes? Nobody's saying to drop it into the eyes. I just didn't think that that would be a common thing, and now I see that some people actually are doing that. Now, I can't support that because the castor oil is not sterile. So for me, eye health is just so massive, so big for me. I've struggled with eye issues since I've been a little girl with the big glasses and, you know, people making fun of me because of how thick my glasses are. And now I have a whole other slew of eye stuff as I approach, you know, my late 40s, the floaters, etc. So I cannot support dumping castor oil directly into the eyes because it's not sterile. It's just that simple. Now, I have used it on my eyelids, and some of it, as I mentioned in my 1-year review, does get into your eyes, and honestly, it works fantastically. It does lubricate the eye area, but that is just kind of like a little bit seeping into your eye area. While it's not sterile as well, and again, this is not medical advice, I haven't had issues with that. But I think that when you go putting anything in your eyes directly that's not sterile, it can open you up to some other complications, which I personally don't want to take the risk. So that is my personal opinion. You definitely do you. Next topic that someone always blows up their social media voice anytime they see me using castor oil and it's not in a glass bottle. Let me make this perfectly clear. I do support keeping oils in glass bottles. Again, I'm a beauty creator. I learned how to make my own products in my kitchen 20 something years ago. I understand how products are best preserved. And while that is a true statement, there's no way for you to know when you spend that extra $10 on a product because it's in a glass bottle that it was actually preserved, transported, kept in something that is equally sustainable. So that is the only point that I have about that. Sometimes I will buy from a reputable brand that I know is hexane-free, organic, cold pressed, meets all the criteria, and I may pour it into a glass bottle just to help it stay preserved. And this is usually when I'm using it on my hair. Now, you do you, and if you want to raise your social media voice about using plastic, that's an entirely different topic when we're talking about earth-friendly right, options. And while I do definitely support that mindset, I think that sometimes because plastic is just so available, it makes it a little harder for us to get the things that we want and completely not use plastic. Again, that's a completely different conversation, but yes, I do support it being in a glass bottle when possible, stored in a cool, dry area, and a dark bottle at that is best for sure. Another question I get asked about a lot is, should I use the regular castor oil or should I use the black castor oil? Now, there's a lot of opposing opinions. I see people in the comments saying I've used black castor oil, basically in their own words, saying how it's superior in one way or another. In my opinion, I am not aware of one being more superior than the other, but one is the Jamaican black castor oil. It gets its color from the ash. There are some studies out there that are alluding to the fact that it may have additional possible benefits for the scalp or the hair. So for me, there is not that conclusive evidence, but I want to know what you think. If you've used one versus the other and you feel, or maybe this would be a better question, if you've used both and you feel like you have superior results with one versus the other, I would love to know. So please drop that in the comments below. I love using natural remedies when possible, but I also think that we have to use our good common sense. I think it's important to reach out to a professional. I have my vet on, speed dial, basically. If I've done all my research under the sun and I feel like there's a good plan moving forward that includes these natural remedies, I will discuss it with my veterinarian. And if you have a good veterinarian, they will be honest with you. If they are not schooled in the subject of natural remedies, they'll just say, like the vet that I had for a decade that's now retired, she would just say, look, I've read some studies on this, or I haven't, or she might say, I know nothing about, these natural remedies. This is the experience that I have. So if you want to do that, kind of like at your own risk. But look, I always appreciate the honesty. I've grown up with every animal imaginable, from cows to horses to ponies to goats to rabbits to dogs, cats, you name it. My pug, he had always suffered with dermatitis, and I would see the skin on his ears was just kind of flaking and breaking off. And so what I determined is that, omegas are good for humans, for dry eyes, for dry skin. And we even use these omegas in skincare products that we apply topically to skin. It turns out that omegas are wonderful for animals as well. So I love to give my pug/pugs over the years omegas to help with their coat, their skin. And sometimes, just like with the human skin, using something internally just won't be enough. You have to apply something topically so you're really treating it from both angles. So applying some type of oil on any dry patches. We talked about castor oil and coconut oil and the little recipe that I created in my 1-year review of castor oil. And again, so many good comments underneath that video. You have to go check that out. But castor oil, I'm just gonna spout some off. Castor oil, olive oil, honey. There's so many things topically that are great for pet use as well, that can help with dry patches, sort of those hot spots. Oats are really wonderful for humans that are suffering with itchy skin. I have a great oat cleanser that I love, an oatmeal based shampoo. And so you get the gist of what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that we use for human application that are also great for our pets as well. I have a soothing spray for our pets that includes oat extract as well, and that is helpful if your dogs have like itchy skin. Instead of me just going and giving them the Benadryl, sometimes I will try something topical first. Now, some people ask, is it okay to put castor oil on certain parts of the dog because they might lick it? And I say yes, because it is also safe to take internally. Again, not medical advice. Make sure if you're giving anything to your animals internally, it is discussed with your veterinarian. I want to mention that occlusive agents like Vaseline can be very helpful for locking in the moisture. You just don't want to apply things like Vaseline where the animal can actually be licking it off, right? So those are the things that we want to keep in mind. My doggie suffered from really cracked, broken, dry nose for a very long time. I tried a bunch of different oils. While they did help, they didn't completely repair the issue. The vet ended up prescribing something to make sure that it didn't get infected, because the more cracked and open something gets, the more susceptible, the animal may be to infection. And my poor little doggie is pretty much deaf and pretty much blind at this point, and he also suffers with seizures. Sometimes he's running into walls, so I really have to be careful with putting barriers down so that he's not hitting the nose against the wall, but sometimes it happens. There's a lot of walls in a house. One of the kind participants in our community also mentioned that black seed oil had worked spectacularly for ear infections. I think that that's a wonderful natural remedy for you to look more into. I did look a little bit into it myself, and I see that there are also supplements with black seed oil in them. Now, while I haven't tried that myself, on my doggies, I can't recommend that, but she is a pet care professional, and I do think that it's definitely worth checking out when somebody in the pet care industry recommends something that they have seen work phenomenally for certain things. Caution that just because something is natural, i.e. dropping the castor oil directly into the eyes, doesn't mean that it's safe or ideal, or that you're not allergic to it. I have clients that are allergic to things like lavender, so just definitely bear that in mind. Just the last time my doggie got really sick, meaning the doctors really didn't think he was gonna make it, I was desperate. I've always been fearful of making the dog food myself, because online there's a lot of information, usually by people that are selling the dog food, saying, oh, be careful not to feed your dog yourself, because if you cook for them, they may not be getting the essential nutrients or vitamins that they need. And while I do agree that you need to have some basic knowledge of those basic principles to be able to give your dog a healthy diet or provide it if you are cooking it, I did find some resources online, such as Dr. Harvey's little book that he includes with some samples of his natural or more natural dog foods that he sells, that gives a very clear indication of the balance that you should be providing your dog if you are cooking from home, i.e. how much protein, how much of said oil, and what different oils that you can rotate with, as well as additional nutrients from veggies and grains, etc. So I use Dr. Harvey's little book as a guideline. I also looked at Dr. Jones' recipe online, where he provides measurements for the protein in the veggies, etc., for providing a balanced meal for your pet. With all of these together, including some extras to support the very specific needs of my pug, I started cooking. And I have to say, I'm not sure how many months ago it's been at this point, but maybe 6 months. And they told me at that point, when he got sick last time, that literally every day is now a borrowed day for you. And so, we really thought that might be it for him. But whenever I was desperate, I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? They're already saying that my dog is on death's doorstep. So by me cooking for him, could I really make the situation worse? My logical mind told me that it was reasonable to do this, and that if anything, it might help. And now 6 months later, he has lost tons of weight, which some people look at him and think that he's unhealthy, but because of the weight loss, it's actually improved his arthritis. It's improved his symptoms from collapsed trachea. He's not coughing at all, and he hasn't gotten sick again. And now this was 6 months from when he almost died, when they recommended he be hospitalized for 3 days and had pancreatitis, let me get it out, at the almost age of 17. So if you're interested in homemade recipes, if you've tried any homemade recipes, I want to know. Please leave it in the comments below. very, very interested in this. I would love to do a video for you if that's something that you want to see, how I make my dog's meals from scratch. I have to say, you know, whenever you do that, you are naturally or organically putting more water back into the food because all of the kibble is dehydrated. So it sucks that moisture out of the kibble, and most certainly you can reapply some moisture, some water into your kibble if you want to do that. But for me, I just thought, you know, he's on his last leg. I'm going to do everything imaginable to make sure that he has the best possible quality end of life stage, and this has definitely helped. So again, leave any comments below if you have any shared experience with this, because I am so curious to know. I hope that this was helpful. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and make sure and set that notification bell if you have found this helpful. Remember, the more you know, the more you glow. Till next time, my friend, ciao for now.